Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Software Engineer K. And today we're going to be going through quite a long video, just quite a lot of stuff I want to address. So the main point of this video is going to be primarily to cover some of the shortcomings of Ecomi, just to address that, and then some of the areas of misconception, just because I've received a lot of questions. And I kind of just want to use this more as a video for reference in the future, just because I constantly get the same questions asked again and again, and it just becomes a hassle constantly re-answering the same questions. We're also going to touch on the upcoming drop just briefly again, and a few points that we got from debut, and just a few cool community updates as well. So just jumping straight into Instagram. So we know that we have the Batman drop coming up, and if I just play this, so we did have some pretty cool things asked on Davy's Instagram. So I asked him to add the carbon neutral end screen at the end of all the ads, because I think it's really important that VeVe pushes for their carbon neutrality, because it is a platform that is carbon neutral. Um, as well as other things, it's probably the easiest NFT platform out there to use. And then other people have kind of said the same thing. So I think at the end of here, they should really slap on the VV carbon neutral end screen. But the reason why we had the Batman is because we had the Mist Batman. So they're going to make that the first drop. I think what they probably should have done is made this Batman for this week be the conclusion of season one, and then start season two from next week with the official new drop. But it's not a big deal, but it's just what I would prefer. So that's just one thing to take into consideration. But on top of that, we do also have some pretty cool community updates. So shout out to Staying Alpha. He's got this really cool looking intro screen. Obviously, it's fan made, but I really like it. I think it's super cool. We got it's kind of like the Justice League opening, but customized for VeVe, and then it's got his kind of logo as well. This is definitely super cool. It's got the Batman versus Superman version of Batman there with the armor, VeVe Superman. But what I also wanted to touch on is just shout out to Trevor. So I had a pretty good chat with Trevor today. So we will be doing a AMA coming up next week. So we've confirmed the day for that. It's going to be between, for me, 7 p.m. and 1 a.m. GMT. Trevor should be available throughout any of that time period. So I'll probably do it towards the later end, just because I know a lot of you guys watching, you're kind of behind in terms of UK time. So kind of be kind of closer to evening time for you, rather than, smack bang in the middle of the workday on a Friday. My message was pretty straightforward, simple, because I know where Trevor's coming from, and I spoke to him earlier today just to reconfirm I am coming from where he is coming from. So this is something that I'm going to talk about in a second, but a lot of people, they just assume game developers, or just developers in general, they know what they're doing. 99% of the time they don't know what they're doing. So when they have a problem to solve, it's probably the first time they've seen that problem. Or even if it's the first time, even if it's not the first time, even if it's like the 50th time they've seen it, probably not in the same context. So a lot of times, it's not a case of, oh, we need to add this, okay, let me go add it. It's, we need to add this, let me figure out how to add it. Because that is literally what software development is. It's not really what people think it is, where you kind of code something and boom, it's done. It's more to do with problem solving. You've got the tools, you just have to kind of figure out how to solve the problem. That is literally what it is 99% of the time. I'm googling things more times than I'm actually writing code. That's just what the profession is. So what I wanted to address is, I just wanted to firstly touch on what the state of the market is right now, because for those who have been in crypto from 2016 and earlier, so you would have seen kind of the shift from the market dynamics that we had earlier, in terms of how we used to have, the various different types of, I guess, money grab schemes, and how they differ from what we have today. So article back from 2017, this is one I remember reading when it first came out. JP Morgan CEO, he said Bitcoin is a fraud that will eventually blow up. He called it worse than tulip fever. For those who don't know what that is, basically in Amsterdam, tulips went through a bubble until they became worthless. It's basically what Bitcoin was apparently, according to him, back in 2017. But at the same time, JP Morgan was buying Bitcoin. And fast forward to today, well, this year, now JP Morgan says Bitcoin could rise to as much as $146,000. And you can see just the transition that we went through. And a lot of the investors at the time who were new to crypto, because there weren't that many people in crypto back in 2016, a lot of them were getting into it for the first time. They read, these things said by JP Morgan. Bitcoin was, going from, I think it was like $20,000 back to like $3,000. And everyone was just panic selling. And that's literally just what it was. Um, so fast forward to today, we don't necessarily have this kind of FUD in the market anymore, because we do still have, big players like JP Morgan calling it a bubble, and, at the same time whilst buying it. But now we've got other institutions such as Tesla, for example, which are kind of offsetting the effect of other institutions, because they're, well, Tesla was pro Bitcoin. They still are kind of pro Bitcoin, just not in terms of, accepting as payment, but overall they still hold Bitcoin. So that isn't as much of an effect anymore on the overall crypto market. Even though in the short term, Elon Musk does have an effect on it. Now, what we have is we've had a dynamic shift towards community-driven projects. Quotation mark community driven. And shout out to FOMotion. So really, really good tutorial. He does some really good videos. He basically shows you how to make a cryptocurrency and sell it as well in 15 minutes. And you don't even need to know how to code to this, because the code's already written. You just copy and paste it, and you just change some variables. Now, I do not advocate, doing this and then, rug pulling and scamming people. Like, I'm highly against it, but that can be done, and that is what a lot of people have been doing. And essentially what we're currently experiencing is similar to the stock markets when we had the explosion of penny stocks. For those who haven't seen the Wolf of Wall Street movie, it kind of summarizes it, where we've got Leonardo DiCaprio ringing up people, selling loads of penny stocks, at hyped up prices, and just making a fortune of it. And people are essentially, the way that they're wording things, um, copy and pasting projects, wording it in a way where it looks like, this is going to be the next big thing. And there is, if you do your real due diligence, there is nothing really behind it. And I would say you do need to have some kind of technical understanding, just because it's important to be able to understand the contracts and, just look into their code base. But even if you can't do that, there are obvious signs. So the reason why I'm showing this is because OMI has kind of gained awareness during this period where we're currently experiencing a lot of these tokens blowing up. So if I just have a look through here, we've got a lot of these tokens that describe themselves are literally meme coins. Belgian waffle, like what is that? Moon wombat. They've got get links to their GitHubs as well. So if I click that, okay, well that's a dead link. So no GitHub there. Belgian waffle, again, another dead link. If we just go to their website, for example, now I think what's useful is just to compare and contrast this to what VeVe has publicly available, just so you guys can see why I value VeVe so highly. So, off the bat, they have, I really don't like this term community driven, because what this means is they're literally going to have a Telegram group where they spam their Telegram in other Telegrams. They invite you, your dog, your mom, literally everyone in your family to the group, and they try and get you to invest in it. That's what they call community driven. And essentially what's going to happen is it is a race to the top and then a race to the bottom. You can make a lot of money. You can, if they start off with $10,000 and the market cap shoots to 1 million, which is very, very possible, then you've made 100x, but you have to get in right at the start and you need to exit at the right time, assuming they don't rug pull from the start. So that's essentially what these are. And this is why I'm saying regulation is going to come in and just shut these projects down. I don't know if people recover their money if they've lost it through these kind of projects, but if we have a look at okay, like this is what I mean. This is their creative team. Mr. Bep, who is a waffle, that wise, like these aren't even names. Like, what is this? Rettle McKetchup. I mean, can we even? We can't even click into them. There's no profile. Like, okay, I mean, compare that to the VeVe team, the Ecomi team, who've literally doxed themselves. Like, you have all of their information. You've got their public company filings. You can literally see the addresses. Like, it's all publicly available. Like, oh come on, you have to be desperate to add MetaMask there as like a partner. Like, oh, is that actually a partner? No, I think they've just added that there to fill white space. Uh, yeah. So this is the thing. These projects, they have just copied and pasted websites as well as copied and pasted code and contracts. There are probably, I mean, Super Shiba. Come on, like, again, another dead link. No GitHub. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people do know this. But the main point I'm trying to say, that I'm trying to get across, is right now we're going through this phase where it is quite common for people to make 10x, 20x, 30x in a day, just because of these projects and the way they work. And if that's what you want to go for, then definitely just go for it. What you do with your money and how you manage your personal finances is, like, at the end of the day, completely your choice. But Ecomi is, it's not like these. These are, I would go as far as say that these are a completely different asset class to traditional cryptos. Like, I would say these are basically no different than the equivalent of penny stocks on the stock market. They're no different to a roulette at roulette table at a casino. So I think that is definitely something that people need to understand, is you can definitely make a ton of money in these projects, but Ecomi won't work the same way. And I think I partly blame the people who were presenting Ecomi in that way. And it wasn't a team, but it was a lot of YouTubers who kept spamming, Ecomi 100x in every single one of their videos. I think that did set some false expectations that Ecomi was going to do, exactly the same as what Belgian Waffle would probably do. So that is really, really important to just think about. Now, another point I want to cover is, so this is going to be covered a bit more in depth with the AMA that I'm going to do with Trevor, but it's this whole concept that a lot of people keep complaining that OMI has no utility and VeVe is not delivering on their promises. So, on the point of utility, OMI has been, well, the VeVe application has been built with OMI at the center of it. When you buy gems, you're buying OMI. Like, that is what it is. The reason they've kind of done such a good job at hiding it is because they want it to appeal to non-crypto people. So that's the first point of utility. That part has been working, and that's always been working, still working today. Second part of the utility is you can use OMI to buy the NFTs, and people argue, why don't you just use fiat? Because that's what they've been doing. Well, you are still buying OMI when you buy with fiat. It's just they've done such a good job at hiding it. I mean, a lot of people have seen this. When you purchase an NFT, if you then click your wallet, you will see an OMI balance there. That's just the NFT. That's just the gems that have been now converted to that OMI as part of that transaction. I believe they have removed that now, though. You can't see that anymore, but before you could. So that's the first point. Second point is, if you are buying the OMI on an exchange, you can get past the FX fees, for example, that are associated with if you're buying using fiat on the App Store. And I think that is a very, very important point. I have heard that Apple might not like this, but we'll have to see just how it's going to work on that side. And at the worst case scenario, go get an Android phone, a cheap Android phone, and buy gems that way. Or the web app, I think that might help solve the problem, because then you'll be doing whatever you need to do outside of the native iOS platform. And then OMI to gems to OMI, like, all of that stuff will come. It's already there in the code base. I've seen it. It's just regulation side, they have to do everything by the book. So at the end of it, OMI has a lot of utility within VeVe. It's just at the moment, some of that utility has had to be pulled back just to address some of the complexity issues, some of the scalability issues. And then this goes on to another point that people have is, if VeVe has 250,000 users, why couldn't they have just planned for 250,000 users from day one? Or why can't they just plan for 1 million users from today? And that again goes to just how a business works. A lot of people making these points, they don't understand how a business works. And if you do understand how business works and you're making those statements, then you don't understand how a business works. It's just not a thing in businesses where from day one you plan everything for way more customers than what you estimate. you know if there was like a little convenience store that opened down your house, and Elon Musk says, hey everyone, check out this convenience store, and then all of the stock is sold out and people start complaining. If you say, why couldn't the convenience store have, from the day it was built, why couldn't they have just stocked it for 1 million people, even though only, like, 100 people visit a day? That's just not something that happens. So it's good that a lot of people have joined the platform, but at the same time, that is where the scalability issues come in, and that's where they have to pull back some of the, like, really core utility, because it's fine if, it's not at the end of the world if the app lags and you miss a drop, whatever. But if a problem happens with transactions, that is a nightmare to resolve. So that, I think they did the right thing by disabling some of the utility involved in OMI, because we used to have OMI to gems conversion. They had to remove that. So that's, that goes into complexity. And what I wanted to just, I guess, touch on is accidental and essential complexity. So this is what Ecomi has a lot of, is accidental complexity. And I spoke to Trevor about this as well. You know, when you have an app that's first designed, and it's not designed, for that, I guess, for as many features and for that amount of scalability that it needs, it's designed to meet an end goal. At the time, that's fine. And then you can, plan that in your roadmap. We're going to scale the app up at this and this point, because we project we're going to have this many and this many users at these points in time. But if you have as many users as what you projected in 2 years, you need to kind of put everything else on hold and just work purely on optimizations. And accidental complexity will fall in, based on the tools that you've used, how you've initially designed it. And then when you have a feature, that's where your essential complexity comes in, like, how am I going to integrate that feature? And the VeVe team, they have to constantly balance both, because that's just the nature of the profession. That's just how it is. And this is a problem with all businesses, not just Ecomi, but I think this is something that they definitely are working on, is setting the expectations of the community, the business side, versus the estimations and what the deliverables, what deliverables they can have on the development side. Because typically, what the business side that faces consumers says is sometimes a bit disconnected to what the development aspect of it is. So if a developer says this is going to take me this many days, assuming this goes to plan, the business might say, okay, they may underestimate it. They'll just assume it's going to be that what the estimate they received is the maximum amount of time it will take, and then they will kind of maybe underestimate a bit, say it's soon, or that's just something that it is what it is. So I wanted to just give props to Reese. So there were people saying that there was going to be a big announcement in April, and nothing happened to it, and it was hyped up too much. So Reese did say he's happy to take the blame on some of it, because he did allude to an announcement. The Ecomi team said there was going to be a big announcement, but they never actually specified a date. And this is, again, what I mean is there's a lot of people who aren't officially associated with Ecomi, but they're hyping these things up. So, he said, that was Indy Kyler who kind of said it was in April. And on top of that, Blockchain Whispers, they were going on about a big announcement coming in April as well. But the VeVe team just said a big announcement. And that still exists in their Telegram. There's something called Something Exciting. I think that might be one of the big updates that they're going to reveal sometime along the line. But you just need to remember that a big announcement and an announcement coming soon, or announcement coming later on, those two things are not mutually exclusive. You can have a big announcement and have it comes later on. Like, just because they say big announcement doesn't mean it is an impending announcement. So what I also wanted to just touch on is if we have a look at their LinkedIn. So again, a lot of these projects that have popped up, the people, you cannot find them on LinkedIn, and even if you can, um, it's very very difficult to kind of communicate with them. Ecomi is very different. They're very open. You can just see the whole team. You can just see everyone who's working there. There's Trevor. I should probably send him a request. They've got everyone here. Oh, they got a new person. Game design. Oh, game design intern. This was from their recent advertisement, I think. So they were hiring for a game design intern. So okay, so she joined this month, very recently, an internship studying interactive entertainment. So she started a couple of years ago. Okay, Natalia. So she's probably being looked after by Trevor, I assume. Okay, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, you guys can see, a lot of these projects that have been popping up, they don't make themselves as open as Ecomi has, and Ecomi's been incredibly open. A lot of these projects, they are very, very, secretive about what they're doing, and that's just the nature of it. So, if you are kind of like on the scammier side, you will be very secretive. And on that point, you know, this it goes back to what I used to say in the past. So I used to be heavily invested in Neo, and I was also heavily invested in XRP. Both of those became, pretty much decoupled from Bitcoin, and they performed extraordinarily well. Even today, whilst Bitcoin is dipping, they're still doing really, really well. And that is because of the analysis I made in the past, which applies today as well. Just taking Ripple as an example, they were partnered with Bank of America back when the lawsuit hit, and Ripple dropped to about 12 cents. I The exact same point I made there applies to Ecomi. Is Bank of America, they do a ridiculous amount of due diligence. They would not partner with a company that is scammy. If you've done some kind of due diligence that is of a greater quality than Bank of America's fraud department, then you'd be better off just applying for a job there and just managing all of their fraud, and you probably earn millions doing that, more than what you probably get as returns on crypto anyway. Same thing applies here for Roger and Cohen. If they were representing anyone that's scammy, that would destroy their reputation. They would not, it's not worth the risk for them. They have their own due diligence, and they've, rigorously tested Ecomi through that side. So clearly, if they're representing Ecomi, then they've got a solid amount of due diligence that they've done. And if you think you can do better due diligence, then you probably just apply for a job in their fraud department. You probably make more money anyway. Now, lastly, what I did also want to touch on is price. So, what I wanted to also add is I will look at the Bitcoin to OMI pairing as well, just to add a little bit more context. But if we have a look on the 4 hourly chart, so we are currently not really doing anything. We've just been sat on that kind of range that I had, my kind of buy limit area. Haven't really moved around from here. Well, we've moved up slightly. 1 hour chart. Yeah, we just moved up slightly. But to be honest, that's just normal fluctuation. We had a little bit more volume, 35 million on that hourly candle, 29 million OMI bought on that hourly candle, well, trading volume. But if we have a look at the Bitcoin pairing now, we're on the monthly chart. So, back at the start of the month, we were having OMI at about 0.14 Bitcoin. And then May the 6th, again, this is what I said. That's when we had the really, really big dump. And from that day, we never actually really changed compared to Bitcoin. We just stayed 1-to-1 on Bitcoin. So, zero point 0.8 here, and then 0.8, and then 0.8, 0.8. We're still on 0.8 today. We did move up a little bit compared to Bitcoin, but we're still pretty much on this line. So since this day on the May the 6th, the price has not changed at all relative to Bitcoin. So it officially stopped dumping on that date. So I can say, I would still wait a bit longer, because that's only about 2 weeks worth of data. But in the past 2 weeks, OMI's price has not changed. So relative to Bitcoin. So if the price does move up, it's probably because Bitcoin's going up. If it goes down more, then it's because Bitcoin's going down more. It's going to stay like that. And I don't see I don't see it moving unless we have something very, very solid, not just news. We need something, delivered. So that's just how it's going to be. And I don't know how long that's going to be for. Dan has said greater than average chance we get a new exchange in May. That probably helped the price. But like I said, you probably could make more money gambling it in a lot of these BSC tokens. But be prepared to, if someone is making 99x returns, someone is losing 99% um, of their investment elsewhere. So you just have to kind of be prepared for that possibility. But again, if that's what if that's what your goal is, then that's your goal. But my advice always from the start was, dollar cost averaging, buy small amounts. Don't chuck all your capital in that in one go, because then when the price does go down, or sorry, if it goes down like it is now, then you're locked in at one price. And that's what I've been doing. You guys have seen all my pending buys; they've been public, and I will be dollar cost averaging a bit more end of this month. I'll probably set a pending buy a little bit, maybe below this range, just in case Bitcoin tanks. And that's just the way I'm playing it. So, feel free to follow my pending buys if you want, or you can just, set your own pending buys or buy at spot price. It's up to you. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through, guys. So I just wanted to go through a fundamental overview and just really address some of the key points that I've been getting asked about Ecomi. And hopefully this was helpful for you guys who, either weren't quite sure of certain things, have doubts. But I will address more on the technical aspect with Trevor on next week. And then the first week of June, we'll also be doing a interview with Reese. So we're going to, definitely be having some Team Trevor, Team Treese competition, see which one's the best. But do feel free to drop questions that you would like me to ask to Trevor. I will only be asking truly meaningful questions, not ones that can be Googled. So think about the questions you want to ask, and then we'll see how it goes. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please do like and subscribe to support the content, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.